Okay, so Ludum Dare 51. I figured I would create a little devlog so that I could record my development experience. The theme was announced. It was every 10 seconds. So the idea came to me pretty quickly for whatever reason. Sometimes I get ideas quickly for these things. Sometimes I'm never sure of the idea and then I just go with it. A lot of times those particular games will turn out. Sometimes those games will turn out far better than the ones that I know exactly what I want to make. I've done so many of these that I've had what I would consider to be really kind of fun games, great games, ones that I'm feel good about. And then there are others that I don't feel good about. I did end up feeling quite good about this one. I like the way it plays. I like the gameplay in general. But the idea is that you're a fly. Player's a fly, and you have to avoid a fly swatter that comes every 10 seconds. Because, if you've ever had to deal with flies, which everybody has, they're pesky little creatures, and they seem to be able to somehow magically avoid the fly swatter. So that's what this game is about. So I'm creating the fly swatter here. And I'm using Asprite, which Asprite's a great program. I normally use Paint.net. I've used Paint.net normally, and I use Asprite, but I think I used Asprite here more than I normally do. I'm testing out the sort of the states for the fly swatter here. And of course, if you notice, one issue with this particular fly swatter is, and there's a bunch of them here, but they're not quite big enough. So I remedied that a little bit later, but I'm just trying to figure out what is fun here. And of course, at this point, I'm not even sure what else I'm going to do. I'm just trying to get the fly swatter to work, and so the fly has to avoid these fly swatters. So plural, bunch of fly swatters. Well, it turns out, like I said, it kind of makes more sense to make that fly swatter larger. But of course, that didn't come, I think let's see, it may happen right here in a minute. Nope, okay, right here I start making the first enemy of the game, which is the spider. So we're still in day one, creating the spider, a little bit of animation. Looked up a spider animation on Google Images. Maybe you can find anything. In retrospect, I spent too much time on it, to be honest, because I think there's like 8 frames in this thing, and it really kind of looks more like the spider is swimming. I don't know. I think it could be better with a lot less frames. I probably should have just, I don't know. But it is what it is. Here I'm trying to get. You can see you can see that the fly swatter is scaled up to something that's a little more reasonable as far as size-wise. Plus, I think it provides a little bit more of a challenge, if you will, for the player. And then I thought, well, you know what? Let's make some little food particles that the player has to get in order to complete the level. So now, basically, what happens is you have to get all these food particles, and then you complete the level, and then you can go to the next level. And then you can see I've got some transitions in for the levels and game screens and whatnot, and I'm testing some here, collecting the food and all that good stuff. And by this time we're at day 2, so this is day 2 stuff here, making some more levels, trying to figure out exactly how to do the progression from just saying, hey, you got to collect food, and sort of making another level where I guess you have to deal with the fly swatter a little bit more. You have to understand how your dash works specifically, because you can dash in this game, and while you dash, while the fly is dashing, he's basically invincible. Sort of to simulate that whole thing where you will try to get a fly with the fly swatter, and then it just kind of disappears, and you're like, where in the world did that fly go? It's almost like it magically teleported somewhere else. So the dash. And during the dash, you're invincible. Messing around with some title screen stuff here. And this concludes my day 2. So here I'm into Sunday right here. So I'm making some more levels. I think this is only I want to say the 3rd level maybe. I end up getting, I don't remember how many levels I get, but I get several levels in the game. and I'm diddling around with the title screen, trying to make it more interesting right here. But I decided also to take, as with a lot of these kind of games, I basically created another enemy, which I called that little green fly. I think I called it a bottle fly. And so the bottle fly, when it sees you, it does something very similar to what the spider does. It just sort of follows you, dead reckons you're in your direction. And basically what you want to do is get these flies and these spiders killed with the fly swatter so that you can go eat your food without having them pester you all the time. And then here you see me drawing a power-up icon for and basically I wanted to be able to increase the dash distance, or the dash time. So the amount of time that you could spend in the dash state. So in other words, how long you could be invincible for. So that's what I'm doing right here, is just drawing that. And I think we're probably, it's probably at this time, probably the early afternoon. And you see me here creating some more levels. What I did find about using Godot, this was the first game that I did in Godot for Ludum Dare, and I thought about using Godot. I have thought about using Godot several times during the many Ludum Dares that I've done, but I never pulled the trigger, and I just felt like, I don't know, the 3.5 release, I liked it, and I figured I would just dive in. Plus, what I really like about Godot is you don't have to wait for everything to compile. You literally press F5 and you're good to go. You can run it immediately. Now, the debugging isn't as good. It's a little bit more difficult sometimes to figure out where your problems are, blah, 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 but I really did enjoy the speed of development for Godot, and especially for a 2D game. I feel like that speed really, that's one of the factors that one should consider when looking for a game engine, figuring out which one you want, is how fast you're able to develop in it. And I felt like Godot really allows you to do really quick things. Even though it's not quite as polished as something like Unity or as Unreal, but especially in terms of Unreal is just ridiculously huge, and it's made for different things. But I don't know, I find all these game engines fascinating, and if I had all the time in the world, I would probably create games in all of them, because they're just so interesting. Because they all do different things well, and they all have different problems. Right here, though, this was like the last couple of hours of the jam, and I figured I would make one more character, or one more enemy. So that was the grasshopper. So the grasshopper would sit on a wall, on a horizontal wall or on a vertical wall, and wait for the player to pass by. And as soon as the player would pass by, the grasshopper would then leap out at the player, launch himself at the player, and then try to kill him. And then also, something else that's special about the grasshopper is that he is immune to the fly swatter. I mean, in retrospect, maybe I shouldn't have done that, but I did. I only got one level in with the grasshopper. And I think that was the second to last level, I believe. And that level is pretty difficult because it's pretty tight, and so you have to use the dash to make it through a lot of this stuff, especially since I've got some flies in there as well. Or maybe there's one fly. I don't know, we'll see here in a minute. There's one or two flies, and there's at least some spiders. I think maybe it's just spiders. Yeah. So I've got spiders in there, and then I've got these grasshoppers. But you have to use your dash, basically, to get through this. So, but anyway, this was a great Ludum Dare. I felt like it was created a decent product, and really enjoyed my experience in the Godot engine. Hopefully you found something interesting in this devlog. So if you're interested in playing the game, I'll have a link down below. and appreciate you taking the time to listen to me ramble about my Ludum Dare 51 experience. See you all next time.